Hey guys, my name is It's Me Mickey Teague, aka Mike, and welcome to my forever world. The world where I'm taking my obsession with fantasy and my love for building in Minecraft and trying to build a world that will last for a long time, that maybe even one day I might be able to play alongside my future children. And now I am usually known for my hardcore videos building epic Dwarven structures, but this series is more about taking things slow and steady and really building up the lore and the world around what I want to do with this insane seed. Alright, jumping into the video, let's go ahead and start getting to work on building up this Dwarven city. Starting off with a little bit of harvesting and replanting to gather some food up. Where we're also going to need some spruce in order to expand our base today, so we'll grab some spruce logs and get some replanted, as we're going to need plenty. I do also have a future project of decorating the sort of edges before we go into like the stony pit. I feel like we need to add just a lot more stone and stuff around these edges just to make it look a little bit more natural. So one of the things we do have to do is take down some of these trees that are close to the edge so that we can have a better understanding of just where the edge of this pit is. And although I don't really have much of a plan for birch logs right now, I can use the wood for chests as well, because we didn't quite get the chest room complete in the first episode, so that's something we can tick off on our bucket list in this particular episode. But we awaken on day 59, and we've managed to tear the tree line back a little bit, and it's looking much better. I probably should have got rid of those two trees right there, but this is just going to give us a better idea of just what transformation we're going to be able to do along this edge, and it will be done all the way around here as well, but there's only so much wood that I can be bothered to dig up with only a stone axe. But hopping into our basement, we can go ahead and make a bunch of birch planks and then turn these planks into chests, and this should give us enough chests to go ahead and finish off our chest room. I also want to go ahead and throw some stone into our smelting system, as we really need some more stone brick. I'm also very quickly just going ahead and doing some very rough organization of chests, just so we have all of our main starting building materials kind of separated off, so I know that all of the andesite is going to be in this chest. Then we can also go ahead and put cobblestone in here, and so on and so forth, just so as we're building and kind of making progress on the builds, we know exactly where everything is. And one of the things I am going to work on in this episode is hopefully getting some signs down and just making sure that all of this is organized. However, let's go ahead and move on for now. As part of our story into delving deeper into the caves, we need to make it down to this platform here. And I know that we've already been here to kind of build this, but in terms of the lore, the dwarves haven't managed to get down here yet, but we're about to change this. And I absolutely love building up the lore in this world. And speaking of lore and personal stories, I have actually just hit 13,000 subscribers probably as you're watching this, which is just an insane number to me. As I started this journey over a year ago, I never dreamed I'd get this far, but my story is far from over, as I would love to hit that big shiny silver play button, which is 100,000 subscribers, and the only way that I can get there is with your guys' help. So if you would kindly consider hitting that subscribe button, it would mean the world to me. However, let's jump back to the video, where we need to go ahead and craft a few spruce barrels for decoration. Turning some of the stone that we smelted earlier into some stone buttons. We're heading down to the bottom of our mine. We opened out into an unfortunate huge cavernous area, which we are going to populate eventually with builds and ideas, but first, we need to actually make a very safe way down, and the way that I want to do this is actually by going ahead and building in this direction with a sort of platform. So we're going to build that very, very quickly. And jumping outside to just go and take a look, one of the other reasons why we actually need to clear all of the trees within a certain block radius of the edge for a future project is it's just going to make traversing around to just have a look at what we've built much easier, because obviously I've come to look at just how this looks from a distance, and so far it looks pretty solid. I do need to add some kind of like structural support underneath the platform just to make it look a little bit more sound, but what I'm going to be doing is basically mining into the side here and then going back up to this top bit so that we can create a second segment and expand our base down here. However, going to sleep on day 61 and rising on day 62, we are going to need a lot more spruce in order to continue, which luckily for me, I actually prepared this a little bit earlier, as here's one I prepared earlier, in the words of Art Attack. Actually went ahead and replanted some of the spruce sapling. Bit of an odd transition, but in the form of transparency. I was just kind of sat listening to a podcast waiting for some spruce trees to grow right over the distance over there, and I was kind of heading in the direction of these spruce trees up here just to try and go and get some more wood, when as I got to the edge of here and I looked down, I realized there's a broken portal thing down here, and I really wanted to go and check it out with you guys on camera, as usually there's gold blocks, but oh, it's over there. There's a chest, and these chests normally contain like mediocre loot, but for early game this could be some pretty solid loot. I mean, we got some flint and steel, we got some obsidian, we got some gold. So we'll shove that in our inventory. We'll also take the chest as well. And then we'll also try and grab the gold block without taking too much. I only have blocks that are really going to burn at the moment, apart from the obsidian, which I really don't want to place down. So we're going to very... Ooh. We just about got that there, and then we're going to just head off out of here and continue back on our journey to getting some spruce. As one thing I do really need to work on in this world is getting a tree farm set up early, but I don't really know if I want to go down the route of using TNT duper tree farms yet, so I'm trying to fathom out in my head the best course of action for approaching making a tree farm that's going to fit in the world. I'm trying to think maybe we just kind of create like a Dwarven sawmill, but it depends on how you kind of want to look at things. I know this is my world and my rules, but not everybody seems to think that dwarves would particularly be a great user of wood, rather more a user of crafting things out of stone. So I'm kind of in two minds right now, but I'm sure I'll come up with something in due time, of course. Albeit that's a project for a future video for now, because I really want to focus on getting our mining operations started, as I really don't want to bypass too many tiers in this world. I really would love the idea of knowing that we actually got a full set of leather armor, then we move up to iron, and of course I'm not going to take my time with it. I do really want to kind of, you know, make meaningful progression in this world, but it is important to me that we kind of have armor sets that we can look back on, and I can kind of say in the future, you know, this was the leather armor that we made at the very start, then this is the iron armor, and then this is the diamond armor that we made in our world, which is why I was a bit hesitant to make this diamond pickaxe, but it is what it is. So jumping back to the wooden causeway that we started earlier, I thought I'd take this time to explain my design process and my mentality behind this build, as I really wanted something that was going to be both replicable and easy to build, so it had to be as least amount of materials as possible, as well as something that was going to look like it was going to hold up against a lot of foot traffic and dwarves carrying around a lot of ores and stone and just a lot of traffic going in and out. So what I decided to do was use spruce logs. So I started off by stripping some spruce logs and making an outline which was kind of going to act as the overall reinforced structured logs for the actual causeway. Then I filled it with wooden planks, and I used these barrels and some stone buttons to kind of add these textures to the build and these little subtle details, as the barrels added a little bit of metal work in there, as dwarves are obviously very skilled metal workers, so it would show that they are using metal and different techniques to bind these logs together, as well as using the stone buttons as a way to kind of use makeshift like stone pegs, as if they were using like stone to hold these logs together in such like a really magical way that the dwarves just knew exactly how to carve have and create these great stone nails that were just going to hold everything together, that was going to hold up against everything the dwarves could throw at it. Now we just need to go around adding in the structural supports underneath, using fences and these trapdoors to kind of add a sort of sense of like a more delicate wooden support system. Finish off with some torches just to prevent mobs from lighting up. Wait a second, I totally just said to stop mobs from lighting up. I mean, I'm lighting up the area to stop mobs from spawning. But heading back out, we can look at it from a distance and it doesn't look too bad. I think I kind of need to extend a pole kind of like up here. It looks a bit too like boxy at the moment, and that's not the intention I was kind of going for. I was kind of going for this like kind of mismatched approach to just supporting things up and creating support. So I might actually remove one or two of these beams on the bottom and then move that one and kind of like build it into the rock a bit further up maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'll leave it as it is for now and move on, as we've now dug up to this area, so we need to do some terraforming. Before we can terraform though, we will need to go ahead and place some stone in this chest, where I may have got carried away with the stone that we've just smelted and started terraforming the area, but we've got a lot to fill in, and we also need to fill in this area here. And then it got me thinking about how we're actually going to expand this mining operation down into the deeper depths of the world for the dwarves. Because if you think of a dwarven settlement coming in and kind of settling here for the first time, and they're building up their home area, one thing they are going to do is very slowly start to create a tunnel down into an area. And I think the first area that we're going to mine into is this down here. So what I'd like to do in essence is essentially create an entranceway here that goes down and then connects up to this area here, where we can create two separate entrances. And I think the way that I'm going to do this is by using a slab stair system, so that it's not just a steep incline or decline. So we're going to go ahead and start gathering some stone and digging out this area right here. Jumping back up top whilst we wait for the cobblestone that we've just mined to smelt, I am going to go ahead and empty all of the andesite that we've just gained into the andesite chest, as this is going to become handy for a lot of our builds. As I said in the previous episode, andesite is a great tool for texturing stone builds, so that's definitely going to be a material that we're learning from our hardcore world to savor more than expend. We can then go ahead and finish off filling in this little hole that we've got and terraforming the area. I then started a bit more of a mining run, as I know the pickaxe is getting a little bit low, but we really needed a little bit more cobble, where I've kind of dug into this space, but I wanted to document it as I did catch a very glimpse at the edge of this iron ore, which we can go ahead and mine up, as it's not the first iron in our world, but it is the first iron that we're probably going to use to craft our first ever iron pickaxe. I'm just trying to light up this cave so that we can prevent any sort of immediate area of mob spawning, but it looks like this cave is way more expansive and much larger than I actually anticipated. But we'll just have a quick wander through to see if there's any more iron, but there isn't, so I'm going to run because I don't have armor and I don't really want my leather to go bye-byes. And unfortunately the diamond pickaxe is on its last legs, as you can see, so there's nothing else to do but to just put it on display in our little museum of our first ever items. Now, yes, of course, we could get mending on this and we could mend it and upgrade it to netherite, but one thing that I would love to do is just, you know, keep original versions of things. Just for prosperity's sakes. There is no practicality reason to this. It's just a personal thing that I've decided to do. If we head outside, it should, in theory, come out here, as long as I do all the math correctly. That is boldly assuming, as I really want to add a little bit of life to this world by adding like different tunnels and ways that the dwarves would have dug down into the deeper depths of the world. Not all of them need to make sense. We've got to remember we're trying to build a sort of sense of hyper-realism with a colony here, not just one person, as I do know that realistically you know, we could just build a stairway like down the side of here, but I feel like the dwarves would naturally want to actually excavate down to the level rather than just going straight down and then building back up. It's like giving that sense of exploration and discovery to the world rather than just plonking ourselves in a situation and then just building in it. We're actually adding a sense to the narrative of the dwarves discovering the cave and the world around them. Bit of a long-winded way to go around about explaining it, Mike, but we move on. Quickly digress to go and breed some cows, and we finally dig through into the open. And for now, that should be all the cobble that we need, giving us plenty of stone to terraform the area below, so we can jump into getting to work on building up the area. So we'll start off by filling this hole and building up this area. Then I was going to decide to build up and build on top of this area, but actually looking at the layout of this, I think it's going to look a lot better if we actually just tear this stump down and dig this back, as it'll kind of expose all of this wall, and then we can make something really cool in the side of the mountain here and make it look a bit more of a dwarven entrance. And then from our viewpoint and from our base up here, it'll just make this whole area look a little bit cooler. So let's jump in and tear all this back. Actually, I've decided against that idea for now, as if we head up to the top and I dig out this block here, you'll notice that there's a ton of water in here, and I just thought it was going to be too much work to clear all of the water and dig all of this back. So I've decided that we are going to keep this as it is, and we will probably build an iron farm like we originally planned on here, but I'm going to jump back down as I'm going to jump into building another miner's hut just so we don't have another gaping hole in the ground. And there we are, that's about done. We could probably do with some torches going down just to sort of light up. Where can we put these torches? Maybe we just need to put, maybe we don't overthink it, we just put them down there like that. That's not looking too bad, and it's nice and sunken into the ground, so it kind of adds to that dwarven vibe. I like it for now. We will probably change this up in the future, but it works. So let's move on to our next build of this episode. Because although I am in the camp of believing that the dwarves probably wouldn't have cattle in an actual city, I do think for a dwarven settlement, it does make sense to have a building where they would rear animals for the hide, so that they can build armor and keep warm in the exposed open air closer to the top of their city, as well as just having a general food source, as they haven't quite got established an underground food source yet. So let's jump into building a little bit of a farmhouse for our new cows that we brought back to the base in episode number 1. Starting off, I do think we are going to have to extend this platform a little bit, as much as I don't really want to, as I do like the idea and the concept of just working with the world that we've been given and kind of building in and around it. I do think sometimes there needs to be Sometimes I do feel there needs to be a little bit of an exception to that rule, so let's get this platform placed down. That should finish up this really rough platform. It will be terraformed, don't worry, we will be replacing a lot of this ground, and we also connected it up to this little island here, which I thought would make sense to be able to feed the cows by creating another wild grassy area that the dwarves would just hand pick the grass out of the ground and feed it to the cows in order to just keep them alive. It was just a nice little touch, and I thought it would just make sense instead of having to go all the way back up and across the bridge just to grab some wheat, just to come back down just to breed the cows every time we wanted to do it. We'd just have this tiny little farm here that would make sense in the lore of the world. So we'll very quickly hoe all of this grass, and this is what it looks like. I've gone for a little bit more of a hyper-realism look where it's just not a solid farmland. It's literally just patches of like almost swampland where little bits of grass and things are growing that they're just going to feed to the cows. There is one more detail that I have realized I need to do though. Grabbing some spruce planks. We need to go ahead and cap these off just so it blends in and we don't have these random water pockets around everywhere. adding waterlogged slabs into the game was probably one of the greatest moves that Mojang have made, in my opinion, as now it just looks like it's all just natural land and there's no random holes of 1-block waters everywhere. It looks much better. And keeping in the theme of total transparency, there was one block where I didn't double layer it and just ended up completely falling to my death. So let's gather up all the stuff that I can and head back up there, whilst not passing up on the opportunity to grab any bit of iron that we can. And I also don't think I'll pass up on the opportunity to get some cobbled deep slate either, because we're going to need this for the build that we're about to jump into. Oh, for God's sake, bloody skeletons. But after using up the remainder of my pickaxes and grabbing a little bit more deep slate cobble, we can head back up to the top, placing our iron in our furnace and just sorting out our inventory, getting ourselves back in the game after losing half of our stuff. Which sadly includes the leather cap that I was wearing, so we'll have to replace that when we move the cow. And after a quick mission to replace all of the spruce that we lost, we can go ahead and start planning and prepping our build, starting off with the courtyard where the cows will live. I'm just simply adding a 3-block gap between some barrels that will act as a bottom of a fence post. We're trying to play more into that Dwarven theme of making things underground and making them feel more at home underground. I'm actually going to go and offset a little bit of this cow farm into the cliff face by about 3 or 4 blocks. I then need to go ahead and build a little bit of support. Then we'll go ahead and add some fences to the side so that they can't escape. Now, this isn't related to the build, but one thing that I do want to do is kind of add a little bit more hyper-realism in the aspect of the supports and things that are helping the dwarves keep this island all structurally sound. And one thing that I've just had a thought about there is that I really want to try and mimic this huge support beam, but build a smaller version here, just to kind of keep the whole build coherent. And that's looking pretty damn good. It definitely matches, and it's helping make the supports look that little bit more real. So we'll move on now. Then we're going to build a very quick canopy. Then we need to kind of bridge this gap with some spruce planks, but we'll just use these slabs that we've got for now. And what we can actually do is kind of add a little bit of a curve by adding some half planks and some trapdoors to add this kind of like little curve to the support. Then we can finish the canopy off by creating just another kind of like wooden support just to make it all fit in with the world, adding on another slab here. That just helps keep up the top of the canopy and bridging up the dirt into our grassland. Hopefully this will allow the grass to spread into our little area, and we'll finish off the area with just a little single trough where we'll fill it with some water, and that's where the cows will get their drink from. But we are now out of spruce, so we will move on to the final segment of this build. But in true Mickey T fashion, I have completely got sidetracked and distracted by just toying around with some cobblestone slabs to create more of a gradient into our world and add a bit more of a contrast for a pathway down to our miner's hut, where we'll mix in more blocks in the future, but for now it just helps distinguish kind of where the walkway is. And although I did come up to grab a little bit more spruce, this does give me the opportunity that this series is about me wanting to experiment and try different designs and new things to expand my building skill. Plus we also need to explain that the dwarves just wouldn't build triangle roofs. They've got no reason to, because there's no rainfall underground. So we're experimenting by creating flatter roofs and different designs. So we're going to experiment by creating what I believe is a mansard roof, where in order to do this, I think we just place down 2 blocks on the side, and then we use a stair block like this, placing down an upside down stairs to give us this kind of slight curve. Heating the upside down stairs on the opposite side, we can then connect these up with a half slab. Then placing down another slab on top. Then using the same color scheme that we used up top, we'll use some bricks and some granite and smooth granite to add the element in between. And still trying to remember this time that we also want to add a border to the whole thing, which we almost forgot to do last time. I'm also going to go ahead and dig one more block down because I really like this look of making the houses look as if they've been like built into the stone and carved into it. So sinking them down one block and kind of having the floor and the door one block below what seems to be like the actual ground level just kind of really helps add to that dwarven element of each of the builds. And we can place down 2 dark oak doors that I definitely did not steal from the upstairs tower. I don't know what you're talking about. Then I can't quite remember where I finished off the last clip, but that now means the roof is done, although I do feel like we need to swap these stairs out for brick ones, but as I'm trying to add a border, I suppose that kind of works. Now all I want to do is just decorate this front a little bit more because it looks just a little bit flat, and there is some elements from the top building that I really want to bring into this one. And that is by adding some pillars to the front of the build, which we did on the upstairs building. I also think adding in some kind of like upside down stairs on this section of the build will help in just kind of tackling that look of making it too flat. There we are, that adds something to it. I'm not quite sure how I feel yet. Then one day, again, there'll be lanterns hanging from these when we get to that point in the game, but for now, we'll just place some torches down on top. And after a little bit more jiggery-pokery, I moved these blocks up one, and I'm much happier with the result. It does look a little bit block vomity to me, but yeah, it's fine, it'll do. I must admit, I am quite easily pleased. I don't really need to spend a long time on builds. I like to not reflect too much on them, otherwise you get caught inside your own head. So now let's go ahead and move on to the last segment. As the grass has now grown and almost completely covered the area, we can go ahead and get rid of this dirt that's leading into it and gather in some wheat up from our little field that we've got going on. We now have the very unfortunate and painful journey of trying to get these cows all the way down to this segment here, and I must say from up above this is looking damn good. I like it. Anyway, let's go ahead and see just how easy this is to get these cows. At the end of the day, we only really need to get 2 cows down there, so if, you know, by all means one fails, we can just or 1 or 2 fail, we can just you know, not kill them off camera. Nothing like the present, I suppose. Are they really not going to cross this bridge because it's campfires? Really going to have to put down slabs just to get them across? No way, that's a thing. Okay, well, note to future self, you cannot carry cows across campfires, so we know that for the future. Now we're coming up to the most dangerous part of getting them across this tiny wooden bridge, and hopefully they don't knock each other off. Then we just have to get them up this last leg of the journey. Get them into the gate. Come on. Come on. Don't get stuck at the last hurdle. Come on. Come on. You guys have got this. You've got the brain power to do this. Apparently they don't. Hey, there we are. Oh, wait. They can just jump over that. Okay, we may need to do some very, very quick retrofitting here. So let's just go ahead and just quickly do this. Then we just need to go ahead and breed them, and hopefully that is finally done. We now have a cow farm in our dwarven base, and it should be working absolutely fine. They should not be able to get out of here now, so that means there's just one more job to do. Sorry, it needed to be done, but at least we got food now. And there we are, that's the Dwarven farm done, and it's looking pretty cool. Obviously, the platform that it's built on will be extended. All of this underneath bit here will be extended out, and it'll look more like it's built into the world rather than just built on a floating platform. Because although I am trying to leave the world as it is and build around it, there will be occasional times where we'll have to terraform a little bit and kind of make things feel like they fit into the world a bit more. And after a short period of time of breeding some cows, I was also going to make windows here, but as the roof covers it, I've actually decided that I'm going to use some chiseled stone bricks as a way of just decorating the walls and making it just look a little bit cooler in here. And yes, that was me totally getting distracted from the cow situation, but we are now moving on, as we've been breeding and killing cows now for probably over an hour at this point, and we have pretty much gathered ourselves a full set of leather armor, and we've also got plenty of cooked beef, so the food is going to last us a long time. I made a temporary furnace just to cook it here, but as we did lose a leather hat earlier, and the process of just waiting for the cows to grow up and breed them, I'm going to pretty much consider that a complete success. And I also earlier on added these cobble slabs and blocks of andesite to just kind of add a little bit of a rocky outcrop feel to the whole area. But all in all, this build is now pretty much complete. I didn't quite get this building done up here. That should be an iron farm, depending on whether or not if it'll work. I'll head up and out to take a look one final time now that we've got the cows in place, and I am actually over the moon with this build. It fits in with the whole building vibe up top, and the stone brick adds some dwarven spirit to the whole build, and I just love how it ties in all together. So with that said, guys, I am going to go ahead and end it there, but I don't want to end it on too much of a negative note, but I will just very quickly apologize for the fact that this video is so late. I know that it's been almost a month since I last uploaded. It wasn't my intention, but it will all be explained in next week's video, as there is some huge news coming. But I will just say thank you so much for watching. I hugely do appreciate you guys taking your time to watch me play Minecraft and try and get better at building. It genuinely means the world to me. But with that said, I'm gonna leave it there, guys, and I'll see you in the next one, because next week you're gonna be seeing some cobby muscle stone.